Okay?
All right, 3, 2, 1.
So now this is a continuation of my personal history, what really brought me to this radio station. And the very first portion of this was on the addendum to the Dan Heller interview. So I'm going to pick it up where I left off. Sometimes you have to hit the wall, your wall. Maybe you weren't listening to what the rest of the universe was telling you. Maybe you didn't see the signs that were all along the way. Maybe you were only paying attention to the voice inside your own head instead of the sirens. The sirens. To what the caution sirens were declaring. Maybe, just maybe, that is what it took to wake you up. But waking up from such an event can take a long time. It takes time to decipher why things happen and what they meant. In place of the profound regret you so easily feel, you must replace it with positive action. It must become the impetus for monumental change. You must become. Maslow said, "What this man can be, he must be." That is called the principle of self-actualization. But the funny thing is, if you think you can do it all by yourself, then you've got another think coming. I wanted to point out the Jim Bowie biography I actually researched for the presentation was by Christopher Minster from the Thought Company Online, updated April 25th, 2019. It's a short but pretty good read. Jim Bowie, American frontiersman, a legendary character with a checkered past, who paid his life to become a hero. Not much is really written about his life. They say, where history failed, legends prevailed. He was a man of action. His wife, Ursula Marie de Veramendi, daughter of the mayor of San Antonio, whom he married in 1831, died of illness in 1833, preceding his death on March 6, 1836, after 13 days of glory. His life's possessions were auctioned off for $99.50. Davy Crockett, ever the politician, having come from Tennessee after telling his fellow representatives where to go, was able to mend the issue between Travis and Bowie, or else a completely different ending may have been written, and perhaps the 28th state might never have come to be. The fascinating thing is that Bowie fought in the war in the first place because his wife had been a Mexican citizen and he had quite a few land holdings in Mexican Texas, many improperly gained. So he put all of that on the chopping block in order to fight and die on the side of the revolution for the land of the Tejas Indians. When I was growing up, I had always read that Bowie had fallen from a wall in the Alamo and took ill from there. But I don't find that now. Nevertheless, when Volunteer Colonel Jim Bowie came up against his wall, it claimed him. He had not lived a perfect life by any stretch of the imagination, but his sacrifice helped cement Texas as a part of this great nation and wrote his name bold in the pages of our American history, especially in the eyes of his fellow Texans. Are you human? Then you have either hit a wall and are recovering, or you have one in your future. If you are heading into the wall, please slow down and adjust your course. Listen to the people who love you. If you are recovering, there is no greater method than to dedicate your life to something greater than yourself. That is the only way to be worth the while that you have been given to live. Lift someone else up and make our community better. If you do, you never know. You might make history. Get going. The eyes of Texas are upon you. The Travis letter from the Alamo I read, in case you've never heard that particular version, actually comes from the Texas State Archive, and that is why it has the addendums to it. Incredible that we may be, indeed owe our very existence as a state to the fact that Bowie disregarded his orders and did not abandon the fort. That is what gave General Sam Houston the ability to ready his troops for the victory at San Jacinto. I had the opportunity to be in Austin a couple of weeks ago for a fraud examiner certification course, and it's incredible the amount of growth that has taken place up there. At night, downtown looks so beautiful, but if you dare joust through the day with the confusion of the traffic and the gridlock, well, I couldn't wait to get back to the relative calm of San Antonio and to you, my friend. And I couldn't help but wonder what Stephen Austin's thoughts would be if he saw that crazy city now. I was struck during the Bowie presentation concerning 4 different lessons. One had to do with what was referred to as the Arkansas toothpick, the Bowie knife. I was wondering if you've ever tried to throw a knife and learned how difficult it can be. I wonder how many times we've thought about what it takes to be good at doing something, anything of value. From what I understand, it takes 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert at something. So we're going to be together for a long time, because that's a lot of episodes for you to wait for me to get really good at this kind of presentation. The other thing when we look at the Alamo, or now having done the Doolittle presentation as well, is that we need to be very careful when we talk about enemies. We can't see old enemies as our current ones. Division is ugly, and true diversity is beautiful. We need to make sure that we know the difference, because we have a responsibility to each other. I designed a knife one time that would have put the Bowie knife to shame. I still have the diagrams. The thing with the Bowie knife is that you actually have to learn how to throw it. The knife I created, in essence, would have hit the target every single time without training. Before I went into production with it, though, I realized that meant anybody could pick it up and do anybody harm. So I chose to stifle the design as opposed to having to take responsibility for somebody misusing my product. Not to toot my own horn, but to emphasize that's the kind of responsibility we have towards each other, even when we don't know each other. That is actually the 4th lesson. It's significant to remember. It's not where we start, but where we finish that counts. That said, we should never forget where we came from and never fail to enjoy the journey. We have to make sure we don't listen to our own press. Instead, we have to do what's right and do it for the right reasons. Then who knows? Somebody may write about you or ask for your interview. I can't thank you enough for listening to my rambling. And the question I have is, what can I do for you? Call me, 210-316-9421. Text me at the same number, or email me at riley@bravozuluradio.com. Now, with regard to Coach Arnold's show, this is the portion I didn't get a chance to share. It was the end of a summer before my sophomore year in high school, before 2-a-day practices began. I walked into Coach's office with a sign. It was literally a labor of love, meant to be a motivation for the team I loved. He said he appreciated the effort, but that we were going to have to put it away for a while because, quote, we can't win with this team, unquote. Now I was crushed. Remember, I was kicked out of art class, so this had been a real effort. But the man knew what he was talking about. A year later, when he announced he was changing schools, I felt as if he had told me first. Within 2 years, I would be the team captain of a perfect season, but the next year he took his team to a state title. Hopefully, you heard, I had the honor and privilege of interviewing that coach after so many years, knowing he had gained the Hall of Fame because of his contribution to the Judson sports program. Now, when I say I presided over a perfect season my senior year as team captain, I meant it. We never won a game. Like the Saints team of that time period, we were the Aints. I tore all the interior ligaments in my left knee in the first game of the season and was only allowed to play half the games. Almost a year and a half before my motorcycle accident, I was already being spoken to. I had put all my eggs in that basket. I sold my horse and quit drama so that I could fall to that field in 1981 in front of hundreds of people. But even before that season started, I knew I would not pursue college football. I knew my calling was elsewhere. Little did I know then of the adventure that awaited me. Coach Arnold may have seen I wasn't much of a ball player, but I do take heart knowing that not many great football players now are called. That losing season hurt, but it taught me more personally than 10,000 victories or 1,000 state titles ever could. About second effort, third effort, fourth effort, about never ever giving up. Remember, none of us are in this alone. It has to be a team effort. I know in situations like that, political type concerns tend to creep in whenever adults do anything. But the important thing to learn from Coach Arnold is you build a team, a consensus around an ideal. Then you build on that foundation to the benefit of others. You build a winning year if possible, but the important thing is the legacy of the program. You build an opportunity for people to build on what you built. Then you create a winning tradition so that winning just feels right, just like with Judson this year. All because one dynamite of a man knew he needed the support of parents and administrators to pull off the impossible. The same thing everyone wanted, but weren't willing to sacrifice for. Also, I could learn a lesson that I couldn't learn from Triumph. Because of the choices he made, there's no telling how many people he was actually able to touch with his caring, his discipline, his tenacity. Truly, that man gave to his community. As for me, the poem I wrote, simply called The Field, was about how much I had learned from crushing defeat and ultimately led me here. And you know what that means, right? It's quite possible somewhere on a Northeast Independent School District campus, somewhere in a closet or a maintenance shed, might be a sign around 3 feet by 3 feet with a white background and bright blue 5 stars in an arc over fierce red letters that boldly pronounce Think District. I couldn't be a part of that winning season in football, but I'd like to make sure I'm part of any winning season that you have from here on out. It is my pleasure to deliver this program to you, and I would like your feedback as to how I may best be of service. So this has been my personal history, and I truly appreciate you listening to Bravo Zulu Radio. Go Brahmas. So in essence, I have learned a lot. I appreciate you continuing to listen, and I promise to get better. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this particular show, because in the end, the only thing that really matters is the 7th trump and how we live the life we've been given. So the main thing to remember is that we need to find that trumpet daily. Let's get to work. Google is the path, not the destination. You are listening to Bravo Zulu Radio, and this is Riley Davison, and we appreciate you listening.